Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to the Lightworkers Union, Shifting Perspectives. I'm probably going to change the name because I've never liked the feeling of Lightworkers Union. That being said, I have 30 years in philosophy, psychology, sociology, and we are talking about poisonous levels of love. I am specifically referring to parental love, but I am more specifically referring to maternal love. There are a few logical fallacies inside of our system, inside of our belief system, which is causing a lot of the problems. The first belief is that you cannot overlove. Oh, but you can. In fact, it's not actually love at all. So we're going to talk about the poison and the toxicity of overloving. And when I say overloving, I'm going to really emphasize it's not actually love. Overloving. Overloving. Overloving is actually enabling. And it is not love. It is an emotional prosthetic. It is over-nurturing. And I'm going to say again, it is not love. It is an emotional prosthetic. It is often done by mothers to their children, especially their infants, with an understanding that I have no identity until I have a child. Identity equals having a child. Now, I do not blame. We're not doing any more blaming. I'm all done with blaming. This is the way it is, and we're going to talk about the solution. And that's bottom line. Is the way it is, and we're going to talk about the solution. I'm going to break down why it's toxic and what the problem is behind it, and we're going to talk about that. Now, before I go into this, I'm going to be very blunt. If you are a mother and you suffered from this yourself as a child, and or you are suffering now from this and are putting your own children through it, I am doing something referred to as mothering. I got to think about what the name of it is. I wrote it down somewhere. It's on my WhatsApp group. I got to go over and look at that because it's actually one of our primary. It is our primary. Yeah, I remember now. It's right here. It is the primary workshop that we're going to be focusing on in the Healing Summit. Mothers who mother themselves. Mothers who mother themselves. That is the name of one of our primary focused workshops that's coming up in January. Mothers who mother themselves. And it's literally this very topic. It is teaching mothers how to take care of themselves, how to mother themselves. And it is literally correcting this precise problem. And there's a few ways that we can do this. It's either a person needing to learn how to self-mother, and it's literally called self-mothering. The other one, smother, self-mothering, smother. It's the smothering project. I don't think I like that. No, I don't like that. It's a fun play on words, but I don't know quite what smothering means, and I don't think I like that. It doesn't feel good. That's toxic energy. So never mind, I said that. Okay, so it's going to be self-mothering, and it's also going to be focused on mothers, but it's also children of mothers who need to learn how to self-mother. So it's either one of these variations. It's either mothers who need to learn how to self-mother, or it's children of mothers who need to learn finally how to self-mother. This is the core of the first perspective. We are basically, society teaches mothers that the first rule of a mother is you have no identity until you have a child. And this leads to empty nest syndrome. This is the cause of it. What is really happening is when you have empty nest syndrome, you are actually going through a withdrawal of the identity. I recently received a statistic that the current highest rates of suicide are among mothers with empty nest syndrome. And this is why. The second thing is you can't have too much love. The problem is this is not love. This is an emotional prosthetic, and it's actually a form of desperation. These are women who very much equate desperation with love. And it's love. It's not the same thing at all. So what ends up happening is the mother literally prevents any and all discomfort. It's a zero tolerance for the child's discomfort. Now, usually with a mother like this, you get binge and purge parenting. Almost every case. Binge and purge parenting is when the mother goes from being an over-enabler to being neglectful. And what happens is she over-nurtures, overindulges, over-enables to the point of exhaustion, and then she crashes. And she could crash for months. She also may exhibit behavior of it's a very imbalanced type of parenting where she might be there for let's say level 1 through 3 problems, but when shit really hits the fan, like levels 8 to 10, she vanishes. Very, very common. Very, very common among mothers with this problem. So again, I'm going to go over it. It's you have no identity. The child equals your identity. I love you, Mom. I'm talking to you. And then you can't have too much love. So what they think is love is actually an emotional prosthetic that they over nurture. They are so desperate for love that they give 100% of themselves until they crash to 0%. So they toggle between 100% and 0% parenting. They have zero tolerance for child's discomfort. They binge and purge with their enabling and their neglect. And they are 100% there for the 1 through 3 level problems, but are 100% absent for level 8 to 10 problems. And it actually needs to be the opposite of that. It needs to be like 30 to 20% for the levels 1 through 3 and about 50 and 60% for the levels 8 to 10. But that's not what's going on. So all of these problems combined, all of these behaviors combined, creates an overbearing, and this is where we hear words like overbearing or over nurturing or over loving mother. And then when the child hits 18, the mother turns into a kind of vulturous leviathan that won't let go. And what's furthermore is a lot of the people in the woman's life, in the mother's life, shame her for not being a good mother. We see this a lot with super moms, which is not going back to the language that I said shortly ago. That super mom is actually a shrink word. I'm going to add it here. Super mom is a shrink word. It is a lot more than that. I'm going to have to create a category just for things like super mom. There are false glorification words, and that's really what it is. It is, well, yeah, it's toxic. We basically have words in our system where they are toxic glorifications, and the healthy word is banned. And supermom is a toxic glorification. That's an example. Spoonie moms is another one. And it's, yeah, like I said, you cultivate with words. So be mindful. So that being said, a mother is shamed for not being a super mom. It's that expectation of fathers, the expectation for fathers is down here, but the expectation for mothers is up here. That's the mindset. And this is a huge part of it. So they are overridden with guilt. They literally parent with their guilt. They parent with desperation. And they parent with emotional prosthetic. A complete empty feeling of I'm nothing if I'm not taking care of this child. So that when the child turns 18, they sink their claws in and the child is completely and totally like fused into the mother's entity. And there's no separation between the child understanding who they are. You have people who literally can't see where their mother ends and where they begin. You know who I'm talking about. All of you do. Like, you know, that's exactly it. It's when your mother is so encompassing with her identity that a child absorbs that identity so that they don't have their own. And that's what a lot of it is. Oh my God, this cycle is really a toxic cycle. The problem is the definition of love. This is not love. This is fear. This is not love. And this is a huge comprehension of this is not at all what love looks like. So there's this real love versus fear. And we're going to be talking a lot about the divide between love and fear. And they are total opposites. They are polar opposites. They are not on the same spectrum. They are polar opposites. And it's absolutely toxic. We really need to change the way we think about this, because you can have a stranger and you could either love them, they're no longer a stranger, or you can have indifference, no feelings whatsoever. And that's all it is. Love, the polar opposite of love is indifference. I guess I could see where, yeah. And then there's people who say, well, if you hate, it's because you have emotions still there. No, you have fear when you hate somebody. Hate is very much, hate and fear are like bed partners. Anger and love are together. Anger and love are like this. Anger is self-love. Like, anger is self-love. And if you are absolutely stuck in anger, it's because I just had it. People who get stuck in anger are not capable, or they're not aware that they need to protect themselves. And that's it, is they are not protecting themselves. They're angry, but they're not processing the rest of the emotion. And as a result, they get stuck. But anger is absolutely self-love. And it's the first sign that you need to defend yourself. And there are 3 stages of anger. The first stage of anger, I call it stage 1, I like to say, is this is a hierarchy. The first stage of anger, the third stage, is violence. The second stage is communication. And the top stage is problem solving. And that is where change takes place. That is what I refer to as the point of change. But first perspectives never get angry because they avoid anger. And as a result, they never get to that elevated problem-solving stage. Because they never get to the elevated problem-solving stage, they never reach the point of change, which is why they cycle through with the addiction and the other aspects. So that's love, anger, and then you have hate and fear. And hate, the ultimate form of hate, is prejudice. So if you are prejudiced or biased, you are actually dealing with fear. If you hate, you're dealing with fear. Hate is the action taken to avoid fear. Anger, well, I guess it's the emotion used to create an action. Same thing with anger. It's really interesting because hate and anger, like really, they are polar. They're completely like hate is the entity of fear, and anger is the entity of love. And it's absolutely extraordinary. The only person who I walked away developing hatred for, well, two people are the stepfather and the biological father of my children, and that's because they hurt my kids. Bottom line, they hurt my children. So I had hate because they hurt my children. And it was an absolute fear of them hurting my children. And that's there. Like it's pure hate. It's very interesting because it's absolutely not anger. It's just pure hatred. So it's really fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So understanding how these emotions all fluctuate and how they're all related, where they're coming from, and how they're elevated. So anger is coming from the defense system, and hate is coming from the fear system. And they get completely, and both of them are a lack of authority. You're not exercising your authority. When you master your authority, and that is going to be a topic we talk a lot about, is mastering your authority. Mastering your authority is the cure to both of those. Mastering your authority is it. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. That's pretty much it. And this is a really good gutting out of that first perspective, which is what we're preparing for January. I know December 8th, it's December 8th, and I'm not going to be covering all of this for into January, but it's definitely something I want to kickstart now. So on January 1st, we're going to be rolling out this. And it's literally a full get involved, jump in. And I'm going to be spending all of January just talking about the first perspective. February, we're going to talk about the second perspective. And March is going to be on the third perspective. The January Healing Summit is going to focus, the January Healing Summit is going to focus primarily on the first three perspectives. And it's all of triadic healing. So you guys can watch, follow up, start getting started with the first perspective, solidifying this. And as I show you where the logical fallacies are, you literally can cure addiction, you can cure your self-mutilation and or your eating disorders. And this is how. And that's what we'll be going over. Also, codependency is a huge part of this. So if you suffer from codependency, if you suffer from avoidant attachment disorder, that's part of this. If you suffer from if you have, I don't think I had anything else. If you are dealing with a meth or a heroin addiction, you must also a cigarette addiction, nicotine, alcohol. You must be mindful that you are also going to be dealing with a physical withdrawal. That's going to be a whole nother creature. And that's where it's like, oh, the psychology is so clear. So I'm just going to break down no, I'm going to do another video. I want to make sure this stays separate. So in my next video, I'm going to cover addiction, then withdrawal, and all of that jazz. All right. Thank you so much. Link is below if you want to figure all this out as far as where you want to go, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, if you want to get involved, if you want to keep up to date. I've got TikTok, WhatsApp, and YouTube. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.